Warning. Travel at night strictly forbidden. The Guild is currently undergoing an investigation of the missing persons along this road. All disappearances occurred during the night. For your safety, all travels past 10 p.m. are forbidden until further notice. Thank you. Hello everybody and welcome back to Nerds and News. I'm your host Trey Spear, and today we'll be taking a bit of a different direction from my last video. So, last video, a few months ago, I apologize about that. I've been working on other projects and all that, but I had a recent hiccup with the WordPress blog site that I've been using, the Spearhead Lounge, which I put a lot of my own homebrew D&D content into, and because of the hiccup, it delayed me on some posts from there, and I figured, you know what? To also spice up some content here, gonna go ahead and start doing a series. I call it D&D Homebrew Monster of the Week over there, but whether or not this ends up being a weekly series, that'll remain to be seen. But to kick things off, we are looking at the Abductor. This is a large aberration, chaotic evil in alignment, with a 15 AC, 153 hit points, a 0-foot movement speed, but with a 40-foot fly and hover speed. My general idea behind this creature was something to hit hard, hit fast, and, as the name implies, alienate and abduct creatures for either prey and feeding. Otherwise, these creatures are often used as retrievers for other high-powered entities, often from the outer planes, as the abductors themselves hail from the astral plane, and if not beyond that. The way that the abductor functions is it is designed to be an ambush hunter, so it will stalk out its prey. It's got enough intelligence to go ahead and figure out who it needs to target, who it needs to track, where they're heading, and all that information, and it can formulate a plan based off of what the party composition of, whether it's a bunch of squishy casters, whether it's a bunch of frontliners like barbarians, and it can reactively change its plan if needed. With a good stat spread of her CR10, 19 strength, 18 dex, 17 con, this is very much a frontline skirmisher, so designed to get in, take some hits, deal some damage, and then get out. With a 12 int, 16 whiz, 16 charisma. Not bad stats by any means. 12 int does leave a little bit to be desired. This is an intelligent creature, not by any means a incredibly smart one. The average for D&D is about 8 to 10, depending on who you talk to. Most proficient intelligence casters usually have, around this point, 18 to 20, if not higher for certain creatures. So, not designed to be the most intelligent and crafty of creatures, but it is still designed to go ahead and just get in there, do its job, and get out. It has proficiency in the perception and stealth skills. Again, that is to help it see and stalk who it's trying to find, figure out where they're hiding, if they're sneaking about, or just kind of keep tabs on who it's following. Stealth skill designed to help it in that aspect with being able to stay low, stay quiet, stay out of sight until it's ready to pounce. It has resistance to the non-magical weapon types, so bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magical damage. This is very on par for creatures of this caliber. Additionally, it has immunity to the charmed and prone conditions. Prone because this is a flying creature that's constantly hovering about and swooping through the air, so even if you were to knock it onto the ground, it's just going to quickly skid around and then pop back up. Charmed, these are very animalistic, but still intelligent and loyal creatures. Charmed could be kind of either way, but again, with the fact these are meant to be, while they can be feral, I more so imagine them as, again, retrievers, hunters for something more powerful than them. So they're often already kind of subservient to another. So you probably could do away with the charm condition. I like it there just to kind of keep it as a more steady and focused hunter. It has 120 feet of dark vision. These creatures love to thrive in dark environments. Again, if they're going to attack, it's going to be over the dead of night, where typically, creatures shouldn't have dark vision. I know D&D 5e has a big problem with just about every race under the sun, minus humans and a couple others, getting dark vision. However, this is to a much farther extent than most creatures do. I think, at max, any race for a player would give them maybe 60 feet of dark vision, but more often than not it's 30, and you can get 60 feet through other features such as the Devil Sight invocation. Attacking cover at night, 120 feet, these things can stealth their way around using that +8 modifier to hide in clouds, hide in foliage, before lunging out quickly and swiftly, disposing of anyone in their way, and then making off with their quarry. The only language they end up speaking is deep speech. Again, this is not a completely feral, mindless, animalistic creature. It is still a hunter and can be feral, but it is still intelligent. It's crafty to a certain degree, and it can react during combat and kind of figure out party plans fairly easily. Again, 12 intelligence, 16 whiz. It's going to be a very hard time actively fooling this thing with illusion spells or anything of that sort, or trying to talk it down. With the Faultless Tracker feat that I've given this, the Abductor has advantage on survival checks made to track creatures. Again, this is a hunter. It's designed to go ahead and be sent out into the realms with a quarry in mind. It'll hunt them down to the ends of the earth before stalking them out for a little bit and then pouncing when the time is right. It has the magic resistance feature. This is a staple across any upper level D&D 5e monster. This gives them advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Siphon Vitality. At the start of each of its turns, if the Abductor has a creature grappled, the grappled creature takes 4d8 necrotic damage, and the Abductor heals for that same amount. So this is the bread to the butter abilities of what the Abductor can do. So while it has other means to detain and trap prey that it's currently hunting, bring back its quarry alive, this feature is, if there is a problematic person that needs to dispose of first before it can get to the actual quarry it has, let's say it's been sent out to hunt a noble of some kind, and there's a powerful foe that there's a wizard that's protecting this noble. It can then dive down, grapple onto the wizard, and haul them away, while still maintaining the grapple until the wizard breaks free, whether that be somehow making a strength save or casting a spell like Misty Step or Dimension Door to teleport out. It's still going to do that turnly damage and also heal itself as it just drains the creature it's sunk its claws and fangs into. Multi-attack. The Abductor makes 2 attacks with its claws. The multi-attack feature is just about on any creature across the entirety of 5e that once they hit CR 3 and above, 9 times out of 10, it's going to go ahead and have a multi-attack feature attached to it. This just allows the creature to keep on par with damage output as the players and kind of still challenge them at this level, as players by CR 10 or by level 10 are going to be having their extra attack features. They can their cantrips do bonus damage. They can cast multiple spells in a turn. All these sorts of things, and they're going to have all sorts of features and magic items that just allow them to absolutely control the battlefield to their will. So multi-attack allows that even if the Abductor misses 1 attack, it's still going to have something to do and not just be out completely in a turn. If it misses both attacks, then it's kind of out of luck, unfortunately. It then has, as its basic attack feature, Claw, a melee weapon attack with a +8 to hit, a reach of 10 feet, and can hit 1 target. On a hit, the target takes 2d8 plus 4 slashing damage. If the target is a medium or smaller creature, it is grappled with an escape DC of 17. Until this grapple ends, the target is also restrained, and the Abductor cannot attack another creature with its claws. So again, the gameplay, the idea behind the Abductor is that it swoops down, uses its claws to ambush, and just instantly grapples into a creature, whether that be the prey that it needs to dispose of, or the creature it needs to just capture and bring back. The one downside of that is, because it does turnly damage with Siphon Vitality, it needs to quickly escape and get out of there. If a fight is prolonged more than the core it can take while grappled, the Abductor would likely release it and either try again another night, or quickly dispose of the remaining party or protectors or whatever the quarry has surrounding it, and then return to the quarry to continue the abduction process. Planar Hop is a once per day feature. The Abductor quickly travels into or out of the astral plane. If it is grappling a creature with its claws, the grappled creature is freed. A creature restrained by the Abductor's following ability, Void Cell, must make a DC 17 Charisma saving throw, or be pulled into the astral plane with the Abductor. On a successful save, the creature reappears within 10 feet of the Abductor before the Abductor vanishes. So this is how the Abductor gets in and out. This is a one-way in or out of the astral plane. It can't hop in and hop out within the same day. It has to wait a full 24-hour cycle before it can go ahead and use the planar hop feature again. Initially, when I first made this creature, I had that as a 3 per day ability, with the general idea being it can use it to get into a plane, grab a creature, and then hop out of a plane, or if it's in a material plane, it can go back to the astral plane, recoup for a little while, and then pop back out to still grab a creature and then drag them back into the astral plane with it. That felt a bit too much, a bit too strong. While this is a CR10 creature and the players will have a lot of power beneath their belts, level 10 is around when players start hitting. They're not quite gods of the realm or demigods per se, but they're definitely heroes of wide renown. There's stories told across the continents, and it's at this point in the game where they'll start fighting adult dragons, they can start taking down beholders, they can start going after all the big bads of the D&D mythos, aside from the endgame bosses such as liches, tarasques, anything of that sort. This can be also a great escape tool. The Abductor can just immediately get out of there if it's a really dire circumstance, and it has the ability to. It's not been pinned down, restrained, stunned, anything of that sort. That was the general idea of this thing, was it's just a get-in tool, but it can also be a get-out tool. This plays very heavily into the fact that the Abductor is a stalker and ambusher. Even after it's been instructed to find a quarry and bring them back or kill them or whatever, it's not going to immediately just fly out into the ether and just immediately attack the creature on sight. It's going to go ahead and take its time, wait for this creature to recharge so it can return once it's grabbed the quarry. However, I wanted to make sure this was somewhat balanced with the fact of it can't just grab a creature and then immediately that next turn vanish. So it has to rely on its Void Cell ability, which is this one right here. The Abductor channels the magic within his body and attempts to pull a creature into an extra-dimensional space within itself. The Abductor targets one creature it can see within 60 feet. The target must succeed on a DC 17 Charisma saving throw or be pulled into the extra-dimensional space within the Abductor's body. While inside, the target is blinded and restrained. The Abductor can hold one creature at a time in this manner. A restrained target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, reappearing within 10 feet of the Abductor on a successful save. If the Abductor dies, the restrained creature is freed and appears at a random spot within 30 feet of the Abductor's corpse. The Abductor can only hold one creature at a time in this manner. So this is how the Abductor immobilizes and abducts its victims. It gets within range, whether it's remaining stealthy and abducting them without them realizing, using the Void Cell within 60 feet to just pop them into the extra-dimensional space stored within its skull, or in the middle of a fight, it decides, okay, this is bad. One final ditch attempt. Gonna go ahead and use Void Cell to try and get who I want into this space so that I can just leave and go return or go feast in peace. This still does play well with the claw and grapple feature, as if there is a particularly strong melee character in front of it, a barbarian, a fighter, something that relies heavily on strength, it's not going to be able to keep that creature grappled and do that turnly damage that it needs to. However, typically, barbarians and fighters are not known for having great charisma stats, and forcing them to make a charisma save and then restraining and forcing them to make repeats of that save could very, very heavily turn the fight in the Abductor's favor. And this functions very similar to the Banishment spell, which is a very, very potent spell. This is not a permanent effect. I need to go ahead and retroactively reword this. This should only last for a minute before the creature is freed. This should not be a permanent effect. I actually modeled this off of how the Swallow mechanic works, which is a permanent effect. A swallowed creature has to repeat that save or do damage to the inside of the creature in order to get regurgitated out. That's not quite the case here. The creature is now in a kind of pocket dimension of sorts. Can't really attack the Abductor from within, so it has to repeat that saving throw to get out. That can technically mean a creature could be out of the fight indefinitely. So that is the one scary thing about this ability, is if a player is just continually rolling badly on their charisma saves, because a DC 17 is not a great save, and with the fact that the creature now is completely out of line of sight of any of their party members, certain spells and effects will need line of sight to be able to actually trigger with them. So that is the one dangerous thing about this ability. That's why I've made it a recharge. I probably retroactively should go ahead and bump this up to a recharge on a 6 as opposed to a reroll on a 5 or 6. But otherwise, I'm very happy with this feature. This monster as a whole, I'm super happy about. It's, again, a great skirmisher for high-level play. Get in, get out. You can honestly throw a couple of these at once for a level 10 or higher party, and that could really make things scary from having multiple players either trapped in the Void Cell, multiple players grappled by the Abductors and taking that 4d8 necrotic damage as the Abductor heals itself. It has a lot of great tools at its disposal. It might be a tad overtuned with the grapple mechanic, the healing mechanic, and the detainment mechanic, but as a whole, this is a creature that demands respect. 153 hit points. 15's AC is a little low. but again, as a skirmisher, it doesn't really want to be taking those hits. It can if needed, but it wants to get in, get out, and do some damage while it's there. And then at the end of the day, just grab its prey, get out of dodge. I hope you all enjoyed this stat block. I've had a bit of a journey trying to make these things. This has been a project I've been working on for over 2 years now, probably getting closer to 3, if not 4. And I've learned a lot. Again, the first stat block was a lot different from what I initially made, and it had some issues. Planar Hop was a 3 per day ability. You could grab grappled creatures with it. Void Cell worked differently, and just needed to be reworked quite extensively. I made it closer to the Swallow mechanic just to make things a bit more uniform and concise, but at the end of the day, I'm super happy with this ability. I would love to hear y'all's comments if you think this is a good stat block, if you think this is a bad stat block, if you think this has a lot of good potential but just needs some things reworked, if you think it should be stronger, if it should be weaker. I would love to hear all of that. So please leave your thoughts in the comments below, and until next time, thank you all for watching.